This is perhaps the scariest period that New South Wales is going through.
The Premier going through a COVID scare herself, being deemed a casual contact after New South Wales Agriculture Minister Adam Marshall tested positive, forcing the New South Wales Parliament to rapid test all pollies.
I was tested very early this morning and isolated and returned a negative test a couple of hours ago.
And despite the Bondi cluster growing to 36, the Premier has again stopped short of locking down.
It is a very contagious variant, but at the same time, we are at this stage comfortable that the settings that are in place are the appropriate settings, but that's so long as everybody does the right thing.
While 3 cases remain unlinked, the government remains confident in their contact tracers.
We have the best contact tracers, I believe, on the planet.
But the Sydney outbreak has already spread south. A man in his 60s tested positive to the Delta variant after returning to Melbourne from Sydney. And tonight, a second case has also been reported. The Victorian government has wasted no time.
New red zones will now come into effect from 1 a.m. tomorrow morning for all of Greater Sydney and Wollongong.
Now the New South Wales government's relying on Sydney-siders to do the right thing.
Complacency has no place, We have the opportunity to do what New South Wales does best. That's come together and support one another, to take the health advice, but also to be extra cautious. Can you please not shout?
But has the opportunity to get on top of this outbreak already escaped them?
This is a serious situation. Our concern level is high, and all of us have a role to play in keeping each other safe.
Bill Botel specialises in strategic health policy at UNSW, and he joins us now. Bill, the New South Wales Premier says that they have this under control and contact tracers are up to speed. Do you think that New South Wales is under control?
Well, you can't both be under control and very comfortable and say this is the scariest moment of the whole pandemic, which is it? We're in a creeping lockdown as it is, and the advice to anybody who is at or near an exposure site in Sydney or now in Melbourne is to drop everything, go and get tested. This is very serious. The Delta variant is far more infectious, far more transmissible. It's already created a tremendous amount of mayhem and havoc in Sydney, right at the beginning of the school holidays, big effect on businesses. But most importantly, our heart goes out to them. Nearly 40 people tonight have a diagnosis that they would rather not have. This is a serious business, and we've got to take it seriously.
Bill, how concerning are the 3 mystery cases?
Well, we have very good contact tracing, there's no doubt about that, and I'm sure New South Wales Health is working to try to figure out all of those questions. But beyond that, we shouldn't be here tonight. This came about because of yet another breach of quarantine arrangements run by New South Wales Health at Sydney Airport. And the guidelines that allowed this case into the community have still not been changed, both in relation to wearing proper masks and PPE and vaccinating the frontline staff, in this case, the driver. So those guidelines have got to be changed. We cannot do this business as usual. Tonight in New South Wales, Australia, about only 5% of people are fully vaccinated. And that's another problem because the Delta variant's spreading in a largely unvaccinated population. It's very different tonight in Israel, 57% fully vaxxed. The UK and the US, about 45% fully vaxxed. So we've made a lot of problems that we're now being asked to respond to, as we must, what the Premier said and what has to be done. But really, 18 months into the pandemic, we should now be sitting down thinking how we could prudently and calmly, safely open up to international travel. And that seems to be a long, long way ahead as we deal with this tonight.
Bill, on the question of whether it's a lockdown or not, you had Crossroads in New South Wales and then the Northern Beaches. They flared for a week or two, then they plateaued and it went away. Now we're seeing similar numbers this time. So why is the government not entitled to punt on the same thing happening again?
Well, punting is the word, right? I mean, who wants to take a punt on things maybe getting better? The Crossroads episode last year was with a different, and in this case, a better variant, not as infectious. But this is COVID Delta. We know it's transmitted in air, and it seems very apparent from that case at Westfield Bondi Junction that it was the most fleeting contact of a person who's quite a long way away. The person who contracted it maybe just got it by walking through air that had been exhaled some time before. Now, we're in a different situation. The situation is deteriorating in terms of the variant, so our precautions, our activities, our shield, our quarantine, and all the things we've got to do have got to change accordingly. We've got to get on with it.
All right, Bill, we've got to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.
One of the things that Bill mentioned there was vaccination, of course. And Lise, I heard that you went and got your first jab. Was it today, yesterday? Something like that?
I did, Walid. I had it on Tuesday. Pete, my husband, actually had his 12 weeks ago. And, you know, even though he didn't fall into the category, he rang the local GP and said, if anybody doesn't turn up for an appointment and you're going to throw an AstraZeneca shot away, you know, just give me a call. And so he got his first shot 12 weeks ago. And then on Tuesday night, we both went in. I got my first, he got his second. He's as smug as all get out, as you would expect now. But I'm so glad I did. And I was a little bit nervous because you do see stuff about the clots, but I just figured against the possibility of me getting COVID, particularly this Delta variant, and dying from it, I know which one I was going to take. So I had the jab. I did everything everybody said. I drank lots of water beforehand, had plenty of Panadol that night. I didn't feel the jab at all, and I have had zero side effects. Like, I can't even, when I touch my arm, I can't even feel that anything went in there. So I would recommend it to everyone.
Well, that's because actually we arranged a pretend injection for you. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. It was completely real.
That's a joke that's been taken seriously by the Daily Mail right now.
That's right. Oh, I regret it already. All right, we're off to a break. We'll see you soon.